Hey, so my name is Frank Velasquez, and today we're going to be talking about Chapter 9, which is Service. Methods of Assembly, Delivery, and Service. Service refers to assembling prepared menu items and delivering them to the consumer. Distribution and delivery refers to transporting prepared foods from production to the place of service. There are two types of delivery service systems: centralized and decentralized delivery systems. In centralized delivery service systems, meals are prepared at a central location in or adjacent to the main kitchen and delivered to the consumer. This type of system has close supervision, control of food quality, control of portion size, and requires less equipment and labor time than the decentralized method. Examples of this would be hospitals and long-term care facilities. In decentralized delivery service systems, bulk quantities of prepared foods are sent to multiple kitchens throughout the facility where they are assembled and distributed. This type of system may be used at large hospitals and medical centers, or even at school district hotels with kitchens on multiple floors. The role of the food service manager. After food is prepared, the food service manager is responsible for making sure it is held safely, delivered, and served by maintaining good aesthetic, ensuring microbial safety, and serving food that the customer finds attractive and satisfying. The food service manager should also create a system that makes the best use of time, money, labor, space, and energy. Assembly. Assembly is putting together prepared items to create a meal. Assembly can happen at multiple points during service. A restaurant, for example, may prepare a meal and serve it immediately upon completion to the consumer, whereas a hospital may use tray assembly. There are two types of tray assembly: centralized and decentralized. The factors affecting your choice of distribution systems. Type of food service system. So the type of food service system that is in place determines its own needs for delivery and service because each one requires different kinds of equipment. Of the four types of food service systems, the commissary system is the only one requiring delivery trucks to take prepared foods to satellite serving units. Commissary system has its processed food either held in bulk or portioned, then in temperature control inventory until it is needed for the time of service. There are three alternatives for the temperature holdings that you can have your food held in, and that's frozen, chilled, and hot held. And there are differences when it comes to bulk held food and portion held food. Bulk held food is placed in a 12-inch by 20-inch counter-sized pan for freezing storage so that the food can be reheated and served in the same pan. It can also be chilled and hot held in heavy containers where the lids are securely clamped to avoid spillage. Portion held foods prepare foods that are filled at the commissary and are then held in insulated carriers. These carriers are loaded onto a truck for transfer to the service unit at scheduled times each day. The delivery truck driver is then responsible for unloading the truck and bringing back empty carriers to the commissary. The number of delivery trucks required for the commissary depends on the distance needed to be traveled and the number of deliveries needed to be made by each truck driver. Sometimes deliveries are asked to follow a time frame, and this is to allow for the food to be delivered within proper periods. In other words, an example of that would be during the meal period for rethermalization. Size and physical layout of the facility. So the size and building arrangement is important. You can either get high and narrow or low and rambling. And by this, some buildings are located in high-cost areas, so their arrangement is generally narrow and several stories in height so they can utilize valuable land to the best of their advantage. Using a bakery, for example, it could have its cooking units on one floor, its bakery on another floor, and dishwashing all on separate levels. This kind of bakery would need a system of mechanized conveyors, subveyors, and elevators in order to deliver food quickly from place to place. In low and rambling buildings, like a hospital, it can go on for miles and need different service systems to ensure their food delivery to patients is done at reasonable times. So the style of service. There are several different styles of service, but the first one we're going to talk about is self-service. And self-service is the most simple food service that involves a customer or guest or customers carrying their own food selection from place of display or assembly to the dining area. There are four types of self-service: cafeteria, machine vended, buffet, and drive-through or pickup. In in the cafeteria style of service, there are actually two types: traditional and free flow. In traditional, employees are stationed behind the counter to serve guests and are encouraged to encourage guests with selections as they move along a counter displaying the food choices. In free-flowing cafeteria service, there are separate selections of counters that are provided for various menu groups. In machine-vended self-service, that's kind of like a vending machine. So the customer kind of just purchases their own thing. For buffet self-service, it provides a mean for dramatically displaying foods on large serving tables. And then the next style of service is tray service, where meals or snacks that are assembled and carried on a tray to individual consumers by an employee is the type of service provided for those unable to utilize other dining facilities. So an example of tray service would basically be hospital, nursing homes, or any type of healthcare facility. Wait service is where a person waits on a table, and there are two types: counter and table service. Counter service is where the guests sit at a counter table that makes for ease and speed of service and permits one or two attendants to handle a sizable volume of trade. Table service is broken down into four parts: American, French, Russian, and family. In American table service, your host or hostess shows you your table and your waiter or waitress takes your order. French table service is mostly used in exclusive or elegant restaurants. Russian service is the most popular kind, where the food is completely prepared and portioned in the kitchen. Family service have the qualities and quantities of various menu items appropriate to the number of guests at the table, where they are served in bowls and platters and displayed on to the dining table. Portable meal service has two types: off-premise delivery and on-premise delivery. And portable meals is basically when the food is brought to you or transported to you. So off-premise delivery attempts to meet the needs for nutritious meals for the elderly who may live alone and be unable to cook for themselves. Whereas on-premise delivery is the distribution of food to workers at their workplace by mobile carts that move throughout the plant. And room service style of service is just where the food is brought to your room right for you. So the skill level of available personnel. Whenever changing or selecting a new delivery system, the food service manager should assess the skills needed for that system and create training programs. The food service manager must be able to decide on the skills needed to operate a new system and on the employee's ability to learn. Lastly, the developed training program should be designed to ensure employees are well trained and knowledgeable in the use, care, and safety features of all equipment and delivery procedures.
Economic factors. The labor and equipment needed should be calculated in relation to the budget. The cost of resources should precede a specific delivery and service. Economic factors help decide where and how frozen chilled food are reheated and assembled. Decentralized service needs duplicate equipment, which may be expensive to operate. Quality standards for food and microbial safety. Management and managers. Time and temperature relationship and standards. The next factor that affects distributing systems is the quality standards for food and microbial safety. The management is supposed to establish standards for food quality and safety, and then select proper equipment for heating, holding, and transporting food. The microbial qualities for menu items is dependent on the type of food, the quality of raw ingredients, batch size, type of equipment used for cooking, and position of menu items in food service equipment. The management of the relationship between time and temperature throughout the cooking of products in every food system service is extremely important because it helps with nutrition, retainment, and for sensory quality of food products. The standards for food preparation and distributing are managed by many regulatory agencies, and managers should be knowledgeable with this also. And examples of the agencies are in the pictures right here as the USDA and the FDA, which stands for U.S. Food and Drug Administration. Timing required for meal service. The time of day meals are said to be served influence the delivery system service use. Multiple serving stations may be needed to achieve the time objective. Preheated electric carts may be needed to load with preheated food in a short time before service and taken to various locations to serve the guests. An alternate method to this is to serve by carrying trays to the customers by services. In restaurants, food may be cooked when ordered and held for a short period of time. In schools, students may get their lunches at various time intervals, or the school may have multiple service lines. Large hospitals may be centralized or decentralized service. Space required or space availability. The space for a facility should be determined when the building is constructed rather than later, because any remodeling can be disturbance and expensive, if it's even possible at all after you're done building. Decentralized systems require less space in the main kitchen area, but more throughout the facility for serving units compared to the centralized system. Energy use. Energy savings are important in the delivery system and equipment section. Active and passive equipment. Systems that use a large number of pieces of electrical powered equipment are considered to be active equipment and are more costly to the operation than those of lower temperature, which we normally say is passive equipment. A few examples of passive equipment would be insulin trays or heated plates. Heated plates are essentially reheatable metal discs used to maintain the temperature of an individual portion of food that is heated on the plate. Equipment needed. Equipment for delivery and service may be classified in several ways, and generally use fixed or built-in, mobile, and portable. This is for specific use of reheating, assembling, temperature, maintenance, transporting, and service. For each of the 4 food service systems, we use these kind of deliveries and equipment needs. So these are the more in-depth examples of the equipment needs. For fixed-in equipment, this is essentially fixed-in or built-in, should be planned as an integrated part of the structure at the time of the facility being built. So an example of this would be automatic cart transport or monorail or even elevators. Mobile equipment is equipment that's moved on wheels or on a cart. For example, delivery trucks or movable carts and trucks. This is used for food in a centralized kitchen so it could get to its meal site. For example, Meals on Wheels that can be delivered to a home or an office site. Portable equipment. Items that can be carried. This is the opposite of mobile equipment because mobile equipment is moved by carts. An example of portable equipment are pans of all sizes and shapes, many with clamps. Can be carried in totes, also normally used for portable equipment. Okay. Equipment for a specific use. Reheating frozen or chilled food. Food that are prepared, cooked, and then frozen or chilled for later service may be reheated at several times. This may be done in a central service area or in a service unit throughout the facility. Equipment needed would be conduction ovens, microwave, and framed ovens. Meal assembly. This is pretty much the most important part in the delivery service system. It requires that the various menu items that make up the meal can be collected and put in one place for easily handling and finding the items that you need. Equipment used can be tables, counters for bagging, trays, dishes, silverware. Temperature, maintenance, holding. Food prepared and ready for service often must be held for short periods of times when it's also being transported from trucks to the main site that it's supposed to get to. Things that may be on the truck may be refrigerators, or even heating storage units of many types. And then once it gets off the truck or wherever it needs to go, it will be put back into these things on the main site. Transport delivery. Equipment like non-insulin carts, temperature maintenance carts, and roll-in refrigerators are used for transporting delivery. Service. Cafeteria counters of various configurations and with selections for hot and cold foods, buffets with temperature-controlled selections, and sneeze guards, and vending machines all provide a mean for self-service. For dining room table service, trays or carts are used to carry the assembled menu items to the guest. Customer service. Customer service. Good customer service is about listening to and observing customers to identify what they really want or need rather than imposing ideas on them that may not be of value. It is important to meet the customer's needs because if not, they will take their business elsewhere, which is something that you do not want to happen. Food service managers need to build a good guest relation program to keep the guests coming back. An example of a guest relationship program is anticipate the needs, be observant of customers' behaviors and environments. Never say I don't know to a customer. Be positive, be specific, admit mistakes, and take actions to satisfy the customer. In summary, the summary of service. The delivery and service of food after it has been prepared are important aspects of the total food service system. The customer's satisfaction is very important part to the food service, and this largely depends on carefully preparing, assembling, and transporting food. The goals of the food service managers are to maintain the food characteristics, including desirable temperatures, ensure microbial safety, and present food attractively. The style of service must be appropriate for the type of operations to obtain the main goal. So our question for this PowerPoint was, what is your favorite restaurant and what kind of service does it use? Thank you.